When I moved into my new house, I was looking forward to peace and quiet. After years of apartment living, the idea of a backyard, my own driveway, and a quiet suburban street felt like luxury. The neighborhood was perfect. Clean lawns, polite neighbors, even a local book club. The house next door, though, was different. It was well kept, no doubt. The lawn was trimmed, the driveway swept, but the curtains were always closed. All the windows, all the time. I never saw anyone come in or out. No lights ever flicked on. No car ever pulled into the driveway. At first, I thought it was just empty. Maybe someone owned it but didn't live there. But then, I started seeing something. It began a couple weeks after I moved in. I'd get up in the middle of the night, bathroom, water, whatever, and glance out my bedroom window. That's when I saw it. A silhouette in the second-floor window of the house next door. Tall, still facing my bedroom. Every time I looked, it was there. Just standing. No movement. No blinking lights. Just a human-shaped shadow. The first time, I thought it was a trick of the light. The second time, I grabbed my phone to take a photo. But by the time I turned the camera on, it was gone. It became a pattern. Around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd wake up, glance outside, and see the figure. Always in the same place. Always looking straight at me. I mentioned it casually to my neighbor across the street. She just shrugged. "That house has been like that for years," she said. "Nobody's lived there since the Harrisons moved out. I think in 2013. That's when the timeline clicked in my head. 10 years. 10 years of an empty house. But I'd seen someone, night after night. I started keeping my bedroom curtains closed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that whoever, or whatever, was over there. Was watching. I set up a small motion light in my window. Nothing. I even taped a mirror to try to reflect the figure and scare it off. And then, one night, everything changed. It was raining. I'd forgotten to close my curtains before bed. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke up to a faint tapping sound, like something hitting glass. I rolled over and instinctively looked toward the window. The silhouette was there again. But something was wrong. The light from the storm reflected off the window in a strange way. I could see my own room, not the house next door. I sat up, and my blood ran cold. The silhouette wasn't in the window across the way. It was in the reflection. It was behind me. I jumped out of bed and flipped on every light in the house. Nothing. No one was there. Every door was locked. I even checked the attic and basement. I called the police, finally, told them everything. The tapping, the shadow, the history of the house. When they arrived, they did a sweep of the house next door first. Empty. Completely empty. Layers of dust, cobwebs, a broken power meter. Nobody had been inside for years. Then one of the officers turned to me and said, "Your window's double-paned glass. That silhouette you saw wasn't in the other house. It was reflected from your room." That night, I stayed with a friend. A few days later, I installed a full security system, motion detectors, cameras, even an indoor monitor for every room. Nothing strange has happened since. I never saw the silhouette again. But I keep the curtains closed now, not to stop anyone from looking in, but to keep from looking out. Because sometimes when I least expect it, I still feel that presence, standing silently behind me, and I'd rather never know where it really came from. I moved into a quiet cul-de-sac at the end of last summer. Just me, finally out of a long relationship looking for peace and privacy. The kind of neighborhood where people smile while mowing their lawns and where the mail arrives at the same time every morning. My house was modest but cozy. The kind of place that felt like a reset button. New start. Fresh chapter. And then, the welcome basket arrived. It was sitting on my front step when I got home from work. A woven basket wrapped in clear cellophane with a big burgundy bow on top. Inside were homemade cookies, a little jar of jam, and a handwritten card. The card said, "Welcome to the neighborhood, Marla from next door." I remembered seeing a woman waving when I moved in. Late 50s, big curls, always wearing an apron. She seemed sweet, like someone who runs the neighborhood watch and bakes pies for every birthday. So I smiled, took the basket inside, and left a little thank you note in her mailbox the next day. That night, just as I was getting ready for bed, I heard it. Knocking. Not at the front door, but soft. At the back. I looked outside. Nothing. No wind. No movement. Next night, same thing. A knock at the back door. I flipped on the patio light. Still nothing. Not even raccoons or stray cats. It went on for 5 nights straight. Always around 2:30 a.m. Always just one knock. Then silence. I set up a motion light outside. It never turned on. So I borrowed a camera from a friend and pointed it at the patio door. I didn't think I'd catch anything. Honestly, I was starting to wonder if it was just in my head, but the footage told me otherwise. I checked the recording the next morning. At exactly 2:32 a.m., the screen glitched for a second. Then it returned to normal. But in that one glitched frame, I saw something. A face, inches from the glass, looking in. It was Marla, smiling, wide eyes, hands pressed to the glass, and she wasn't blinking. I went cold. I never gave her my schedule, never invited her over, never gave her any reason to be there. And yet, there she was. That day, I knocked on her door. When she opened it, she looked completely normal. Chipper, like someone in a baking competition. But when I asked her why she'd been at my back door in the middle of the night, she froze. Then she smiled. "I just wanted to check that you were settling in okay." I told her to stop, politely but firmly. That night there was no knock. But there was another basket, this time no card. Just a jar of jam and a single photo tucked underneath. A photo of me, asleep in my bed. That was it. I packed a bag and left that same night. Slept at a motel. Called the police in the morning. They did a wellness check. Found hundreds of photos in her basement. Of former neighbors. Of people sleeping. Some weren't even from this town. She was taken in for questioning. No one knows how long she'd been watching people. Or why. But I never went back to that house. I sold it 3 weeks later and moved to a place where my nearest neighbor is half a mile away. And I never eat anything I didn't buy myself. Because sometimes a welcome basket isn't a gift. It's a warning. When we first moved into Ridgewood Hollow, everything felt too perfect. The lawns were identical. Every house painted the same 2 shades of beige, and all the neighbors waved in unison. At first, my wife and I laughed about it. Creepy suburbia, we called it, like we'd stepped into some overly polite episode of The Twilight Zone. But it wasn't funny for long. The day we arrived, 5 different neighbors stopped by with gift baskets. I couldn't even keep track of their names. Dennis, Linda, Cheryl, all smiles, all asking the same exact questions. Do you feel safe here? Do you like order? You're going to love it here. One even said, you'll see. The Hollow takes care of its own. We chalked it up to weird HOA energy, but it was more than that. We noticed no one ever left. Cars were parked, but rarely moved. There was a neighborhood watch truck that circled the block exactly every 33 minutes. And every night, around 9 p.m., porch lights flicked on at the same time. Every single one. About 2 weeks in, we received a note in our mailbox. Please ensure your living room curtains are closed by 9:03 p.m. No signature. Just that one sentence. We ignored it the first night. At 9:05 p.m., there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, no one was there. Just a note taped to the window. This is your first warning. That's when I tried to leave. The next morning, I told my wife we were going to a hotel for the weekend, just to clear our heads. We packed light, got in the car, and pulled up to the neighborhood's only gate. It wouldn't open. We pressed the button. Nothing. We waited. Nothing. The security guard inside the booth just stared at us, like he was waiting for something. Finally, he leaned out and said, "The Hollow isn't finished with you yet." That was the moment I realized we weren't living in a community, we were part of a program. That night, I waited until 2 a.m. I crept through our backyard, hopped the fence, and made my way down the side streets, staying off the main paths where the patrol trucks circled. I reached the edge of the development where the trees were too thick for landscaping. That's where I found it. A door. Just a metal panel built into the side of a slope, half covered in ivy, and a keypad. I tried our house number. The gate buzzed. The door opened. Behind it, a dim concrete tunnel and a way out. We left that night. Never looked back. We sold the house remotely, barely broke even. Every once in a while, I check Ridgewood Hollow on Google Maps. It's still there, but there's no street view, and the photos are all from 5 years ago, like it hasn't changed since. I don't know what the place really was, some kind of test community or something worse. But I do know this. If you move somewhere and everything feels a little too perfect, leave before they decide you're part of the plan.